Good morning, Prairie UU. Good morning on this first Sunday of Black History Month. We are Prairie Unitarian Universalist Church. We are from Parker, Colorado, and we say welcome and join us. We are liberal religious light on the prairie. I invite you this morning. I invite you who come in your wheelchairs. I invite you who come with walkers and canes. I invite you who come with glasses and hearing aids. I invite you who come with learning disabilities, with those with PTSD. I invite you to come with your whole body, your whole mind, and to be celebrated for exactly who you are. We welcome you with open hearts and souls. We welcome you, and from me to you, welcome this morning to Prairie UU.
Good morning, Prairie family, friends, and guests. Thank you for being here with us this morning. We're going to kick off by singing hymn 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. And this is a African-American hymn dating from the Civil Rights period. In fact, it goes much further back. It shows up in various Christian hymnals over the past century or so. Different melodies, but basically the same words. I'll warn you ahead of time. My hair is kind of shaggy when I sing in this because it's an older recording. And also, I did not update the slides. This is pre-election, so there's some references to the election and also to our current pandemic situation. So enjoy. I'll try to update them next time. Before we start singing, I want to shout out to Eric Moon for this wonderful arrangement, as well as for the arrangement for the hymn we'll do it towards the end of the service. So as you're willing and able, please join me in singing hymn number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do.
You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Oh Lord, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says laugh, ha ha ha. You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh, ha. When the Spirit says laugh, you gotta laugh, oh Lord. You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout, oh Lord. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance, oh Lord. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do, 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 Spirit says do.
Good morning, my beloved. I want to offer you a virtual hug that comes with all the celebration of our Prairie UU community. We hope you feel welcomed and a sense of inclusion this morning. I want to acknowledge you who are joining us for the very first time. Whether you are from Parker, Colorado, or my hometown of Anaheim, California, or if you're from Just Living, a queer-friendly intentional recovery community in Lakewood, or wherever you are in the world, I want to welcome you and thank you for being with us this morning. This month, we will celebrate Black History Month and the beloved community. We will be asking ourselves how we can build the beloved community by centering and bringing you Black voices on a variety of topics that call for liberation, as well as celebrate Black history and culture. And bring forward to you, most importantly, the voices of Black futures. In the words of Tina Turner, you know, every now and then, I think you might like to hear something nice and easy. There is just one thing. We never do anything nice and easy. We always do it nice and rough. This month, we will start off easy, but we're going to move through the finish rough, because this is the way we do liberation in theology and centering Black voices and building the beloved community. If you are looking for a short service this month, it won't be here. We invite you to engage with us as we go forward in celebrating a beloved community and Black history. During this month, we focus on our beloved community and what it means to build that beloved community. And today we focus on our bodies. I invite you to take the next few moments of meditation and reflection to reflect on what it means to live in a world that centers itself around being able-bodied. Today we celebrate our bodies with all of their shapes and sizes and shades and abilities. We celebrate our bodies that exist within a wide spectrum of ability. Some of us come to this space with bodies that move easily through time and space because of established structures we accept as norms. Some of us come to this space with bodies that struggle. We struggle because we fail as a community to see that our norms are not welcoming to all people. Today, in our celebration, we reflect on the beauty of both ability and disability. We celebrate our bodies as glorious gifts, which hold our souls and bring joy to our hearts. Each Sunday, we open our service by asking you to bring with you a breathing buddy. This is my breathing buddy, Ralph Waldo Jr. And if you haven't brought a breathing buddy with you, I invite you to bring a breathing buddy with you every Sunday. It's a way for us to connect since we can't be together as we settle into this space. We will start with a moment of just taking some breath as we begin our meditation together. I invite you to face a source of inspiration or to close your eyes and to rest your breathing buddy on your chest. As we settle in, just allow your body to just settle into the space. Release the tensions that you were holding when you entered, and just take a nice deep breath in. Breathe in and out. In and out. Spirit within, I speak out loud my wish of goodwill, that we may be connected to each other. And I do this by offering these words from Bonnie Vigard as we offer this time of goodwill and prayer today. Spirit of love and mercy, today we pray for all in our community. We pray and ask for your blessing upon us. We hold today people who are blind and cannot see, and those who can see but are blind to the people around them. People who move slowly because of accident, illness, or disability. And for those who move too fast to be aware of the world in which they live. For people who are deaf and cannot hear, and for those who can hear but ignore the cries of others. People who learn slowly, for people who learn in different ways, and for people who learn quickly and easily, but often choose ignorance. People who have chronic illnesses for which there is no cure or relief, and for people who live in unholy fear of developing chronic illness. I invite you now to speak love into the world by speaking of those you hold in your hearts, those who come on a variety of levels of ability and the wide spectrum of the gifts of our body as we send positive energy into the world. If you are joining us in Google Meet live on Sunday morning, please unmute yourself and speak of or name any intention you hold at this time. If you are joining us in any other format or any other time of the week, enter your intention into the comments so as a collective we may send out goodwill and prayer and be with you in community. I now not only bind all that has been named and made known to us, but that and those which remain unnamed, but held in the heart of this community as we light our chalice. Our chalice is a symbol that we are connected to the larger Unitarian Universalist community. And we light this flame as a symbol of our covenant to each other and the world around us, as we recite our sacred promise, our covenant to each other.
We covenant to be a welcoming and loving community, offering each other fellowship, sanctuary, and a joyful spirit. We seek justice and peace in all our deeds and relationships, and we respect and honor both the individual and the collective search for sacred meaning and truth. We revere and celebrate the diversity of our earth and are guided by the spirit that connects all life as we reach out to offer our best to ourselves, our community, and our world.
May the goodwill, may the prayer that we have just offered be held in our hearts as a sign that we have come to a place to connect in a way that shares the words of our mouths, the music in our hearts, and our very silent self as we share these next few moments of silence.
Rise Up is just a song about any type of relationship. It's actually really just about, I look at everyone as we are all brothers and sisters, and we are all, sort of a body working together, So rise up is really about saying one piece isn't better than the other, and when this part is struggling, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna lift you up, I'll be that. If you're going through pain, I'll go through the pain with you, if you're celebrating, I'll celebrate with you, So it's just sort of saying, I will rise up for you.
Broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round. You can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out. Mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again, and I'll rise up, I like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. When the silence is quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains, bring it to its feet and move mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. That we have each other, and for that we have each other. Yeah, we will rise, we will rise, we'll rise up, we'll rise, I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times again, and we'll rise up. I like the waves, we'll rise up. In spite of the ache, we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again.
Hi guys, today we're going to be watching a video about bullying, and we're all different in our own ways. However, that does not mean that you should be mean to other people.
Blue was a quiet color. She enjoyed looking up at the sky, floating on the waves, and on days she felt daring, splashing in rain puddles. Every once in a while, she wished she could be more sunny like yellow, or bright like green, more regal like purple, or outgoing like orange. But overall, she liked being blue, except when she was with Red. Red with a hot head. She liked to pick on Blue. Red is a great color, she'd say. Red is hot, blue is not. Then Blue would feel bad about being blue. Sometimes yellow comforted Blue. Blue is a very nice color, she'd say. But Yellow never said that in front of Red. She never said, "Stop picking on Blue." Green, purple, and orange thought Blue was nice too. But they never told Red to stop either. Every time Red said something mean and no one spoke up, he got bigger and bigger and bigger. Soon, Red grew so big everyone was afraid of him. No one dared to stop him. Red picked on all the colors. Then everyone felt a little blue. Until one came. He had a different shape with bold strokes and squared corners. He was funny. He made the other colors laugh. Red saw this and got very hot. "Stop laughing," he told Yellow. "Stop laughing," he told Green. "Stop laughing," he told Purple and Orange. And they did. Red rode up to one. "Stop laughing," he told him. But one stood up straight like an arrow and said, "No." Red was mad, but one wouldn't budge. So Red rolled away. One turned to the other colors and said, "If someone is mean and picks on me, I, for one, stand up and say, no." Then Yellow felt brave and said, "Me too." Green agreed and said, "Me 3." Then Purple became 4. Then Orange became 5. Blue saw the colors change. She wanted to count. Red grew red hot. He felt left out. He grew hotter and hotter and hotter. Red raced over the blue and said what he always did. "Red is hot. Blue is not." But this time Blue stood up tall and became 6. "Red can be really hot," she said, "but Blue can be super cool." Red blew a fierce and tried to roll over Blue. But everyone took a stand and said, "No!" Seeing them standing tall made Red feel very, very, very small. Then Red turned even redder and began rolling away. Blue called out, "Can Red be hot and Blue be cool?" Red stopped in his tracks. "Red could count too," said one. Red rocked and rode and turned into 7. "Everyone counts!" they shouted. Then Red laughed and joined the fun. Sometimes it just takes one.
Now let's join together in singing our youth out.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
This morning we'll be centering on these words from a TED Talk entitled "Using Your Voice is a Political Choice" by Amanda Gorman. Now, most of you are probably familiar with Amanda Gorman or getting familiar with Amanda Gorman. Amanda Gorman is the youngest inaugural poet laureate for the United States, and she gave the inaugural poem for the inauguration this year. Many of us have been familiar with her for what she delivered on January 20th. But as we begin Black History Month, I'm glad to share this centering piece of a young person who is a strong voice for the future.
To gather myself, because I'm not sure if you know, but public speaking is pretty terrifying. I know I'm on stage and I have my heels and I look all glam, but I'm horrified. And the way in which I kind of strengthen myself is by having this mantra. Most of my life, I was particularly terrified of speaking up because I had a speech impediment, which made it difficult to pronounce certain letters, sounds, and I felt like I was fine writing on the page, but once I got on stage, I was worried my words might jumble and stumble. What was the point in trying not to mumble these thoughts in my head if everything's already been said before? But finally, I had a moment of realization where I thought, if I choose not to speak out of fear, then there's no one that my silence is standing for. And so I came to realize that I cannot stand standing to the side, standing silent. I must find the strength to speak up. And one of the ways I do that is through this mantra where I call back to what I call honorary ancestors. These are people who might not be related to you by blood or by birth, but who are more than worth saying their names because you stand on their shoulders all the same. And it's only from the height of these shoulders that we might have the sight to see the mighty power of poetry, the power of language made accessible, expressible. Poetry is interesting because not everyone is going to become a great poet. But anyone can be, and anyone can enjoy poetry. And it's this openness, this accessibility of poetry that makes it the language of people. Poetry has never been the language of barriers. It's always been the language of bridges. And it's this connection making that makes poetry, yes, powerful, but it also makes it political. One of the things that irritates me to no end is when I get that phone call, and it's usually from a white man, and he's like, "Man, Amanda, we love your poetry. We'd love to get you to write a poem about this subject, but don't make it political." Which to me sounds like I have to draw a square but not make it a rectangle, or like build a car and not make it a vehicle. It doesn't make much sense because all art is political. The decision to create, the artistic choice to have a voice, the choice to be heard is the most political act of all. And by political, I mean poetry is political in at least 3 ways. 1, what stories we tell, when we're telling them, how we're telling them, if we're telling them, why we're telling them, says so much about the political beliefs we have about what types of stories matter. Secondly, who gets to have those stories told? I'm talking who is legally allowed to read, who has the resources to be able to write, who are we reading in our classrooms, says a lot about the political and educational systems that all these stories and storytellers exist in. Lastly, poetry is political because it's preoccupied with people. If you look in history, notice that tyrants often go after the poets and the creatives first. They burn books. They try to get rid of poetry and the language arts because they're terrified of them. Poets have this phenomenal potential to connect the beliefs of the private individual with the cause of change of the public, the population, the polity, the political movement. And when you leave here, I really want you to try to hear the ways in which poetry is actually at the center on our most political questions about what it means to be a democracy. Maybe later you're going to be at a protest and someone's going to have a poster that says, "They buried us, but they didn't know we were seeds." That's poetry. You might be in your US history class and your teacher may play a video of Martin Luther King Jr. saying, "We will be able to hew out of this mountain of despair a stone of hope." That's poetry. Or maybe even here in New York City, you're going to go visit the Statue of Liberty, where there's a sonnet that declares, as Americans, "Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free." So you see, when someone asks me to write a poem that's not political, what they're really asking me is to not ask charged and challenging questions in my poetic work. And that does not work because poetry is always at the pulse of the most dangerous and the most daring questions that a nation or a world might face. What past do we stand on as a people, and what future as a people do we stand for? And the thing about poetry is that it's not really about having the right answers. It's about asking these right questions about what it means to be a writer doing right by your words and your actions. And my reaction is to pay honor to those shoulders of people who use their pens to roll over boulders so I might have a mountain of hope on which to stand, so that I might understand the power of telling stories that matter no matter what. So that I might realize that if I choose, not out of fear, but out of courage to speak, then there's something unique that my words can become. And all of a sudden, that fear that my words might jumble and stumble go away as I'm humbled by the thoughts of thousands of stories a long time coming that I know are strumming inside me as I celebrate those people in their time who stood up so this little black girl could rhyme, as I celebrate and call their names all the same. These people who seem like they were just born to be bold. Maya Angelou, Ntozake Shange, Phyllis Wheatley, Lucille Clifton, Gwendolyn Brooks, Joan Wicks, Audre Lorde, and so many more. It might feel like every story has been told before, but the truth is, no one's ever told my story in the way I would tell it, as the daughter of Black writers who are descended from freedom fighters who broke their chains and changed the world. They call me. I call them. And one day I'll write our story right by writing it into a tomorrow on this earth more than worth standing for. Thank you.
Please respond in community together. From many stories, we build one beloved community. Each of us brings our stories to this space. From many stories, we build one beloved community. We bring stories that are meaningful and frivolous. From many stories, we build one beloved community. We bring stories of our lives and of our ancestors. From many stories, we build one beloved community. We bring stories that are filled with joy and sorrow. From many stories, we build one beloved community. We bring stories of our lives that are unique and to be celebrated in community. From many stories, we build one beloved community.
Okay, should we do Hold Me Down, yeah?
Yeah, hold me down, yeah?
Yeah.
Good choice, bro. Cool.
Stuck on the dark side, reaching for daylight. Nothing wrong with alright, but that ain't me. I made suggestions, answers to questions. All that they told me was let it be.
'Cause all my life, you know I was dreaming about a way to find a way out. You know that can't hold me down. I said the man ain't meant to fly, but I'm reaching up for the sky. 'Cause you know that can't hold me down.
There's obstacles in my life I just can't seem to do right, but I keep trying.
It seems they wanna knock me down like my ass, still I rise. It won't happen this time, no.
mountains in my way, I can't lie. At times they seem too high, but I just climb. I told him that I won't stop till I reach the other side. He don't get to decide, no. I made up my, 'cause all my life, you know, I was dreaming about a way to find a way out. You know, they can't hold me down. They said the man ain't meant to fly, but I'm reaching up for the skies. You know, they can't hold me down. Everything's meant to change. See, I'm meant to be free. So take your chains off me. I'm gonna turn it around. Nothing can stop me now. Some things are meant to be. This time it's about me. 'Cause all my life, you know, I was dreaming about a way to find a way out. You know, they can't hold me down. They said the man ain't meant to fly, but I'm reaching up for the sky. You know, they can't hold me down. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, yeah. Stuck on the dark side, reaching for daylight. Nothing wrong with alright, but that ain't me.
Well, I will be the first to tell you that I am no poet. But I do have two things that I would like to bring forward to you that Amanda Gorman and I have in common. We both are from Southern California. She is from Los Angeles, and I am from Orange County. And given that she is less than half my age, that's probably all that we share about being from Southern California. The second thing we share is that we both have invisible, quote unquote, disabilities. She has a speech and auditory disability, and I have dyslexia and ADHD. These commonalities bring us to our conversation today. On January 20th, many people looked at that inaugural stage and said for the first time, she looks like me. And most were speaking of our new Vice President, Kamala Harris. But many others were looking at several others on that stage. I, for instance, was looking at Amanda Gorman and also President Biden when I said, they look like me. Now, of course, if you put us together in a picture, you might say, okay, this boy has lost his sense of reality. They look nothing alike. Well, I beg to differ. Because when I looked at that stage, I saw two people who look exactly like me. Two people with what we like to call invisible disabilities that have led us, all three, to sharing some type of speech or auditory disability. President Joe with his stutter, Poet Laureate Amanda with her struggle to pronounce specific words and sounds, and Pastor AJ, who has a difficulty with reading and speaking at the same time that leads to a tic of a constant use of the and also a stutter when I get nervous during public speaking, or even being asked to read on the spot in a meeting. Always counting ahead to see what paragraph I'm supposed to read. What I saw when I saw those two people on the stage were two people who, just like me, came from humble beginnings. And though I may never have their ability to achieve the notoriety that they have, we have all learned that through our struggles from our auditory disabilities and other parts of our stories, we have a lot to say. I know that some of you probably wish that I didn't have so much to say, but I do. Nonetheless, we all have a lot to say. And what we have to say is rooted in what Joe may call fairness, or Amanda calls politics, but I call liberation. Each of us has taken on a different modus operandi, politicals, poetry, or the pulpit. So here we have three speakers who have trouble speaking, and all speaking to people willing to listen to their passions, their loves, their pains, joys, and stories. As far as I can tell, I really don't have much more in common with the man from Pennsylvania that now sits in the Oval Office, or the beautiful young poet who is laying the foundation for Black future voices to speak truth to power. We all have 3 different histories, but as we bring these stories together, we find a commonality. We find a place of unity where we can come together as a community, a beloved community that transcends age, location, and personal experience. Through this commonality of experience, it comes out of and bubbles up sometimes out of disability. This common experience brings us to a place of passion and compassion. As I've mentioned a minute or two ago, it brings me to liberation, to even a deeper liberation theology, an understanding that our beloved community, if we are able to have it, has to be rooted in speaking for the oppressed, speaking for the marginalized, and speaking for those who are in pain. No matter literally how hard it is sometimes for me to speak. This is what I aim to do from the pulpit, both before you in worship and also in life, in school, on the street, in the legislative hall, and at the vigil. I know that some of you hear this as simply political speech. And for some of you, sometimes it's too much. Too in your face or on your nose. My response to y'all is that I hear you about that. But just as Amanda Gorman stated in the piece that we centered on a few moments ago, that she cannot avoid politics. I cannot avoid liberation. Today, I must speak to you about the liberation that is needed in our community because of ableism that we often or too often accept as just the norm. So today, I ask us to reflect on what ableism looks like to us and what it looks like in the future in our new world post-COVID. I believe that Prairie UU has done a pretty good job of addressing the physical needs of our congregation and our community in the past. When we were meeting in person, we made sure that rooms were accessible, that sound was adequate, that we made good use of visuals. But of course, there's always room for improvement and growth. For instance, in the months of January and February of last year, I brought it to the hospitality team to stop opening the accordion doors. Remember the accordion doors we used to have behind the pulpit? To stop opening those doors and to instead usher all of our community through the side door of the sanctuary, down the hallway, and down to the fellowship hall. Because opening those doors meant that we were creating a quicker and shorter route to the refreshments for people who could climb the stairs. And where people who couldn't climb those stairs had to take a much larger, longer, less convenient route. Now, this is something that glared to me. Why? Because I lived with a mother who was in a wheelchair and a father who wore leg braces for several years, both of them towards the end of their lives. And I could see that it would not be welcoming to them or to others. So this brings us to where we are today. Today, we are having conversations about the future, about our online services, as well as what they would look like when we come back to in-person, hybrid, or other activities in the future. And my question for you is to have these conversations about how we serve, welcome, and center people with disabilities, some visible, some audible, some invisible. How will we address providing access to those with medical conditions that are autoimmune, or people who can't take the vaccine, those who have underlying conditions or age that prevent them from feeling safe in the larger communal spaces that we create? I'm going to ask you to consider these questions when we have these discussions about what it means to meet in person again. What will our space look like? How large will it have to be to ensure social distancing? What will it mean to provide adequate engagement spaces in our services so that our community members who are not able to be with us in person can still be as equally as available to share in things like candles of community or other type of ritual spaces. How will we engage meetings where people who can't be with us in person can still have their voices heard? As we all know, there's quite a bit of difference in feeling in meetings between being in person or behind the wall of a screen. You know, we tried to do this last year before COVID in bringing people in virtually to meetings, and it wasn't ever an easy task. So I'm going to ask you to speak liberation to you for the moment. I'm going to ask you to remember that when we have these discussions about coming back in person, that we listen to and center those in our community who will have the hardest time doing so. As we have these conversations, I'm going to ask you to err on the side of these members of our community. Now, this may feel for some of us to make the process more challenging and longer and more difficult. And I don't deny that it will feel that way. I just want to remind you that if we're going to build this beloved community, we have to do so by centering the marginalized. As we entertain these conversations, we must celebrate that we are not taking the easy route, that we are taking the path less traveled, and we are doing it as spiritual practice. We must live speaking spiritually as liberation theology becomes a part of our spirituality, our community, our understanding of the web of life. And sometimes this may feel like a burden to us to always ask, what does it mean to center the marginalized? Sometimes we will be asked to give up what we want and cherish. Sometimes we will be asked to dig deeper into who we are individually as a community. And sometimes we will be asked to delay and to challenge. It's a reality of the new world we will live in. So I'm going to ask you to come with this not as a vision of a burden or a loss or a challenge. I'm going to ask you to come to this understanding of liberation with creativity and inspiration and spirit. I'm going to ask you to learn, to reflect, to pray, and I'm going to ask you to center the marginalized as a hope for all of us as we build the beloved community. I'm going to ask you to open your hearts and your minds and to allow them to overflow with compassion and to realize that our spirituality is connected. Our liberation is in our heart. Our liberation is in our voice. And together, that liberation will become spiritual practice for all of us as interconnected community. And someday, through that liberation, through that understanding of what some of you may be reduced to politics, others may be given glorious to poetry, I will speak to you from liberation. And I will ask you to share in that as spiritual practice as we come together to build the beloved community. Blessed be. We are a community of people who come together in love and support of each other. And part of being in this community is by sharing our resources, our time, our talent, and our treasure. And we need to be taken care of as a community in a variety of ways. And one of the teams that does this and helps to take care of us is our staff. And I would like to thank the members of our staff. I would like to thank them for all the work that they do. I am so very grateful and honored to be able to work with the talent that we have gathered. They are deeply committed to building the beloved community with each and every one of us at Prairie UU. They work timelessly to bring us together and to bring our vision to life by supporting our members, handling our finances, to communicating our message of inclusion to the whole community, both locally within Prairie UU and beyond. They also bring together our worship and other programs around lifespan and music and activities. And I would like to thank our staff for all that they do. I also want to remind you that our staff is available to you for questions and comments and kudos. I invite you to thank them and offer them gratitude. Our staff is available Monday through Thursday from 10 to 4. Also, I would like to thank you for something else that you do, for the talent, for the offering that you give to us through your generosity, through the We Believe Survivors Fund. The We Believe Survivors Fund was designed to support those who need mental health services or legal services, who is a survivor of sexual assault at the hands of someone in a church or a religious setting. We have built this fund, but it could use some additional funding. If you would like to give to this fund, I encourage you to do so, and to just go to our giving page and to donate. Also, if you are a survivor, I invite you to contact myself. I invite you to contact our Committee on Shared Ministry, or I invite you to contact Melissa Bishop. If you need any support services, we are here for you. If you need support services spiritually, financially, or in other ways, we ask you to just let us know, and we'll be happy to support you in that way. And finally, I want to thank you for all the other ways that you give. I want to thank you for all of your time and talent and treasure that you give to our community. Normally, we would now share the plate and pass the plate in our service. We obviously can't do that here. But I do want to invite you to be generous as you give every Sunday morning. And I want to just thank you for your generosity each and every Sunday and all throughout the year and all the things that you do. Thank you.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
We welcome you every day to join us in deepening your bond to this beloved community. We hope that if you hear the call to become a member, that you would join us. Now, what does that mean to become a member? For me, I will share what being a UU means to me, since I'm not directly a member of this congregation. I'm a UU Christian that was raised Pentecostal and still feel a real closeness to the deep spiritual faith that I am called to. But when I started attending a UU church, I was attending another church that on the outside was everything that I wanted, because I'm a gay man and a Christian. But from the inside, it brought a lot of pain and hurt that I never thought a community could bring. I soon had to leave that community that I thought was everything I needed, but wasn't healthy for me physically or spiritually. Shortly after leaving, through my partner, Pastor AJ, I was connected to a congregation he was interning at in Southern California. Through them, I found the love and joy and healing from the outside and the inside that I was missing and needed. I also found a deep love for God that I thought that was lost through the pain of my old church. I found hope and grace. So regardless of your spiritual background, if you're spiritual or not spiritual at all, if you believe in God or not, if you're a Christian or not, you're welcome to explore your own faith, just like I have here. So if you need a place to just be, a place to heal from your past community, or just a place where you'll always have people to support you, come forward. Become a member of Prairie UU. If you are here in the Denver metro area, or you're coming to us virtually from anywhere in the world, simply take a leap of faith, contact our membership committee, or go to our website and complete the guest registry and just check the box to get more information about membership. we will be happy to join you on this journey with you and welcome you into this beloved community. And also, join us after the service for New UU, where Pastor AJ and our committee on shared ministry will share with you and update you on the visioning process for Prairie UU, including the integration of UUA's Widening the Circle of Concern report. Thank you.
We have a hymn in the Teal hymnal, number 1014, called Standing on the Side of Love. This hymn was written by Jason Shelton, a UU minister and also a musician and composer, obviously. Jason was also part of the commission that developed the Teal hymnal. Now, since that has been published, Jason has realized that standing is an ableist term, and he's decided to change the lyrics of the song, basically just the title, from Standing on the Side of Love to Answering the Call of Love. Now, please notice that here's the case of a composer changing his music to match our changing culture and theology. So often in our UU past, and as you can see in the hymnal, we include songs and hymns from many other cultures and faiths, and we have often divorced them from their original context. We change the lyrics. This is the reason why I introduce hymns these days, so that we have more context on the hymns. Along with that, we've changed musical styles. We've also changed the songs and hymns of living composers, and sometimes without their permission. I hope as our UU faith evolves and we deepen our appreciation for right relations, that we come to understand better how music connects us all. So please join me as you're willing and able in singing Answering the Call of Love.
Promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide. So every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare proclaim, we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, willing to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Today, I have a special introduction for you. I would like to share with you a message from Just Living in Littleton, Colorado. As you know, we often mention Just Living in our welcome, but I've gotten to know Reverend Ruth and some of the members of Just Living community through their participation in the Christmas in Colorado celebration and the work and the community that they're building to work to build the beloved community beyond their walls with the Mountaintop UU and UU's United for Racial Justice. So I want to introduce them to you and let them introduce themselves. And here's a message from Reverend Ruth and 2 members of the community of Just Living.
Hello, I'm Reverend Ruth Reinhardt. I'm the founder and executive director of Just Living, Colorado's first and only queer-friendly and gender-inclusive recovery residence. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Just Living has been operational for over 18 months in Lakewood, providing a haven, a sanctuary, a place of healing and recovery for folks who have been struggling with addictions with alcohol and or drugs. So here are 2 of our residents, Eric and Mel. Let me first introduce Eric. His pronouns are he, him, his. So Eric, why is a queer-friendly and all-gender recovery residence important to you?
I think having a queer-friendly and gender-inclusive place is important for me personally because so much of my addiction was tied up in my queer identity. And I feel like exploring who I am as a gay man now in recovery is best done in a place of healing that is safe and supportive. And so Just Living is that place for me.
Beautiful. Well, now let me introduce you to Mel, AKA Ms. Ivy, who is a musical doula. Their pronouns are they, them, or she, her. So Mel, what about you? Why is this important?
Yeah, well, thanks for this conversation tonight. For me, inclusivity is an important part of my recovery. As a native Two-Spirit, our land and our bodies have been colonized. So for me, it's actually an empowering act of decolonization to embrace my recovery. And, also as a Two-Spirit, not defining myself as man or woman, but really in touch with the balance, it's important to have a place, a community and a supportive space where all of me is accepted and not compartmentalized.
Thank you. Thank you both. With your donations today, which we will receive gratefully, we will build our fund for the ADA upgrades that we need for our building. We want to be completely inclusive and we need more help with the ramps and doors and a bathroom and a suite to be ADA compliant, to be inclusive for those with disabilities and that might be in wheelchairs. So we need $24,000 to do this and we are putting money aside for it right now. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Mel and Eric. And now we will now receive the Compassion in Action offering. Please be as generous as you give.
As we prepare to leave this space, I invite you to join me in spirit as we reflect on these words and we recite these words together from Mark L. Bellatini. Go in peace. Live simply, gently, at home in yourselves.
Act justly, speak justly.
Remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power in the days of your powerlessness.
Do not desire to be wealthier than your peers, and stint not your hand of charity. Practice forbearance.
Speak the truth, or speak not.
Take care of yourselves as bodies, for you are a good gift.
Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with yourselves, and go as you go with the dream of that peace alive in your heart.
Amen. Amin. Shalom. Salam. Namaste. And blessed be.